family moved to Salem, Massachusetts, they bought an old colonial-style house filled with creaky floorboards and heavy wooden doors. In the attic, tucked beneath a dusty sheet, Mika discovered an old mirror framed with carved oak roses. Something about it fascinated her, and without asking anyone, she dragged it into her bedroom. That was her first mistake. Her best friend Rika came over the next day. As soon as Rika saw the mirror, her smile faded. "It's cool, but weird," she said. "It feels like it's watching me." They both laughed it off, but that night, strange things began. At exactly 2:33 a.m., Mika woke up cold. The window was shut. But the mirror? Fogged from the inside. She stepped closer and gasped, her reflection wasn't copying her. It stood still, staring directly at her, expressionless. She rubbed her eyes. Her reflection blinked, then smiled, but Mika hadn't. Heart racing, she covered the mirror with a towel and ran back to bed. The next morning, she chalked it up to a dream. But it wasn't over. Every night after that, the mirror would be uncovered again. No matter what she did. And every night, her reflection grew more alive. She told her teacher, Mrs. Keller, about it during lunch. Just to talk it out. But Mrs. Keller went pale and said quietly, "There's a legend in Salem about a girl trapped in a mirror. They say she was accused of witchcraft and cursed to reflect others forever." Mika laughed nervously. But that night, when she passed the mirror, her reflection whispered, "You laugh now. Soon you'll cry." She screamed. Her parents ran in, blaming it on stress or imagination. But they didn't see it. No one ever did. The worst part came when Rika stayed over. Around 3 a.m., she shook Mika awake, whispering, "I saw it. The girl in the mirror. She's not you." Mika sat up, terrified. What was she doing? Rika hesitated. Smiling. "But she wasn't looking at you. She was looking at me." They decided to take the mirror back to the attic the next day. That evening, they went to bed early. But Mika couldn't sleep. The mirror was still there, uncovered again. This time, the reflection stepped forward, but only inside the glass. It placed its hand on the inside surface. Then it mouthed the words, "Let me out." Mika screamed and threw a blanket over it again, locking the bedroom door. Downstairs, a picture of her family fell off the wall, and the glass shattered. The reflection had a crack now, right over its left eye. And that night, Mika saw something she couldn't forget. When she turned away from the mirror, her reflection didn't. It stayed. Watching. The next morning, Mika woke up to a strange chill again, but this time, something had changed. The mirror wasn't just fogged. It was dripping from the inside, like condensation after a storm. She touched the glass. It felt warm. Too warm. Like someone had been breathing heavily against it for hours. She called Rika and begged her to come over. Rika didn't hesitate. When she arrived, they both went to the attic, hauling the heavy mirror back up the stairs. But just as they reached the top, it slipped from their hands and slammed to the floor. It didn't shatter. Instead, it groaned. Rika stared at it. Did that thing just moan? Mika nodded, too scared to speak. Suddenly, the reflection of the attic behind them shimmered, and a hand pressed against the inside of the glass. Not Mika's. Not Rika's. A pale, cracked hand with blackened fingernails. They ran downstairs and called Mrs. Keller. She listened quietly, then said, "You need to cover it with a blessed cloth and bury it deep, before the spirit finds a way out." That night, they did just that. They wrapped it in an old church cloth Mrs. Keller had given them and drove to the edge of Gallows Hill, where accused witches were once hanged. With a borrowed shovel, they dug for hours, hearts pounding in the dark. But as they lowered the mirror into the pit, something screamed. Not a sound from their mouths, but inside their heads. Mika dropped to her knees, clutching her skull. Rika grabbed her, dragging her back. The mirror glowed red for a moment, then cracked fully down the center. Silence. They buried it quickly, packed the dirt, and left without looking back. Days passed. Everything seemed normal. Mika smiled again. The room felt light. No cold spots, no whispers. Until the third night. Rika called her at 3 a.m., "Hey. I saw something." Mika sat up, tense. "What now?" "There's a new mirror in my room. I don't know where it came from." Mika froze. "What do you mean?" "It's framed with roses. Just like yours." Mika's blood ran cold. "Get rid of it. Now." But it was too late. Behind Rika, on the phone screen, Mika saw the girl again. Standing in the background. Not in the mirror, in the room. Mika screamed, "Rika, she's out. She's behind you." The call ended. The next morning, Rika's parents said she vanished without a trace. No signs of struggle. No footprints. Just a shattered mirror on the floor. Now, every night, Mika checks every mirror in her home. She avoids her reflection. Because sometimes, she catches it smiling when she's not. And now, it's whispering again. "You gave me her. But IST." Rika had taken a short travel nurse contract in Detroit. To save money, she checked into a rundown roadside motel for a couple of weeks. It was called Moonlight Inn. The sign buzzed faintly at night, flickering like a dying light bulb. The only room available, according to the manager Mr. Grayson, was room 9. "That room's old. Not many like it," he said, handing her the rusty key. "If you hear anything strange, ignore it. Walls are thin." Rika shrugged it off and dragged her suitcase down the cracked sidewalk. Room 9 was at the far end of the building, half hidden under a broken street lamp. When she opened the door, a stale, musty smell poured out. The wallpaper peeled like shedding skin. Still, it had a bed and a bathroom. She could survive 2 weeks. That night, around 2:45 a.m., she heard a tapping on the wall behind the bed. Not pipes. Not bugs. Knock, knock, knock. She turned on the lamp and leaned against the headboard, listening. The knock came again, 3 times, slow and even. It was coming from inside the wall. She pressed her ear against it. A whisper. Faint, muffled, like it came from someone trapped. "Let me out." She jumped back and ran to the front desk. Mr. Grayson looked annoyed. "It's an old room. Probably rodents," he said. "No refunds after check-in." Rika didn't sleep that night. The next day, her coworker Mika picked her up for work. Rika told her about the noises. Mika's face turned pale. "You're in room 9. My cousin stayed there last year. She vanished." Rika thought Mika was joking, until Mika pulled up a missing person's photo on her phone. It was a girl named Kayla. Room 9 was the last place she had been seen. That night, Rika set up her phone to record. She put it on the nightstand, lens pointed at the wall. She lay in bed with the covers up to her chin, heart racing. At 3:02 a.m., the tapping started again. Then a groan. Then, something impossible. The wallpaper near the headboard began to peel up on its own, curling like fingers lifting a veil. Underneath, instead of plaster, there was a mirror. No, not a mirror. A pane of glass. And behind it, Rika saw eyes. Wide. Staring. Human. She screamed and backed away, grabbing her phone and racing out the door. But when she played the recording, it showed nothing. The wall hadn't moved. No sound. just her panicked breathing. She returned the next morning with Mika. But when they entered room 9, the wall behind the bed was solid brick. No mirror. No hidden glass. No trace. Mr. Grayson stood in the doorway, silent. Some rooms hold on to things, he muttered. Memories. People. Rika stared at the bed. She swore someone had been behind that wall, watching her sleep. Rika couldn't stop thinking about those eyes behind the glass. That feeling of being watched. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't a dream. Something, someone, was trapped behind that wall. Back at the hospital, she barely made it through her shift. Mika noticed her shaking hands and red eyes. "You're not going back there tonight, are you?" she asked. "I have to," Rika said. "Kayla disappeared in that room. And now it's trying to show me something." After work, the two women stopped at a hardware store. Rika bought a hammer, a flashlight, and a crowbar. They returned to room 9 around midnight. Mr. Grayson wasn't at the front desk. The lobby light was off. No cameras. No one around. Rika stood at the wall, heart racing. "Right here," she whispered. Mika held the flashlight. Rika swung the hammer. Crack. Plaster split. Underneath, a thin layer of old wallpaper peeled away with barely a tug. Behind it, wooden panels. Behind that, hollow space. Rika pried a section of the wall open. A wave of cold air rushed out. Inside was a narrow crawlspace. No insulation. Just a gap between the walls. And in that space was a small mattress. A spoon. A comb. And a journal. Rika pulled the journal out. On the cover, Kayla, written in faded pink marker. She opened it. The pages were full of scribbles and dates. Day 7, he won't let me out. Day 13, I hear others crying. Day 22, someone new is in the room. Rika's blood turned to ice. Kayla had been alive in there, watching from behind the wall. They kept searching. Farther in the wall, under the mattress, they found something else. Bones. Small and brittle. Rika dropped the flashlight. They called the police. When officers arrived, Mr. Grayson was gone. So was the motel's guest registry. No security tapes. No employee files. The room had been a trap. The news ran the story for days. Remains found behind motel wall, missing girls case reopened. But no one could find Mr. Grayson. Mika moved out of Detroit. She wanted nothing more to do with it. But Rika couldn't let go. Weeks later, she returned to the motel. It was shut down, yellow tape everywhere. She snuck into room 9 one last time. The hole in the wall was sealed. But on the mirror above the sink, someone had written in smudged dust. She saw me. Rika stepped back, hand trembling. She turned to leave, but before she reached the door, the light flickered once. The wall gave a soft knock, knock, knock. And behind her, in the reflection of the mirror, the eyes had returned. Luca had always been obsessed with the strange and old. His apartment was filled with antiques, mirrors with cracks like spiderwebs, clocks that ticked backward, and rusted lanterns from ships long sunken. But his favorite obsession? Dolls. Especially ones that looked like they had secrets. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, he and his sister Erica wandered into a narrow antique shop tucked between two closed buildings. The wooden sign above read, Kane's Curiosities. Inside, the air was thick with dust and old wood. Looking for something rare? Asked the old shopkeeper, Mr. Kane, with a crooked grin. His voice creaked like a floorboard. Luca's eyes scanned the shelves, and froze. There, at the back of the store, sat a doll on a high shelf. Its porcelain skin was flawless. It wore a faded red velvet dress and tiny black shoes. But its most chilling feature was its eyes, glass, yes, but wide open and too lifelike. Watching. "That one's not for sale," Mr. Kane said quickly. "It belonged to my great-grandmother. She made it by hand. Called it Anka. Never wanted anyone to have it." "But it's perfect," Luca said, entranced. "I'll pay anything." Mr. Kane hesitated, then sighed. "Fine. But don't say I didn't warn you." Luca took the doll home and placed it in his glass cabinet. That night, thunder growled outside, and the lights flickered. From his bed, Luca glanced toward the cabinet. The doll was no longer sitting. It was standing. He got up, heart pounding, and opened the cabinet. The doll was exactly where he left it, sitting. Must have been a trick of the shadows, he thought. The next morning, he found the cabinet door open. He lived alone. The doll now sat with its head tilted slightly, facing his bedroom. Did I move it last night?" he muttered. When Erica came to visit that afternoon, she noticed it instantly. "That thing gives me the creeps," she said. "It's staring at me." "It doesn't move," Luca lied, though even he wasn't sure anymore. That night, Luca locked the cabinet with a small padlock. At 3:11 a.m., he woke to the sound of tiny footsteps. Click. 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 He sat up and stared at the cabinet. The padlock was unlatched, hanging open. The doll was on the floor, facing him. He lunged out of bed, grabbed the doll, and threw it into a closet. He slammed the door, shoved a chair in front of it, and tried to sleep. The next morning, the closet door was wide open. The doll was gone. Luca's apartment felt colder. Shadows hung longer than they should. Then he saw it, on his living room wall, written in dust. "She is awake." Luca didn't sleep the next night. He stayed up clutching a kitchen knife, listening for sounds, clicks, whispers, footsteps. The apartment was silent, but his eyes scanned every corner like prey waiting for the predator. By sunrise, the doll still hadn't appeared. But the message on the wall, "She is awake," was still there, written in a perfect curve through the dust. Erica arrived later that morning. Luca looked pale, like he hadn't slept in days. "I need to return the doll," he said. She moves. She watches me." Erica didn't laugh. She believed him. "Where is it now?" "I don't know," Luca whispered. "She disappeared last night." Together, they searched the entire apartment. Under the bed. Behind the fridge. In drawers. Closets. Nothing. Then, as they turned the corner into the bathroom, Erica screamed. There, sitting on the sink, was Anka. Her head tilted again. A wide grin carved into her once perfect porcelain mouth. "That wasn't there before," Luca shouted. "Her mouth, it didn't look like that yesterday." He grabbed the doll with shaking hands, stuffed it into a box, and duct-taped it shut. They drove back to Kane's Curiosities. Mr. Kane stood behind the counter like he had been waiting. "You brought her back," he said, not surprised. "She's haunted," Erica shouted. "She walks, watches, writes on walls." Mr. Kane nodded slowly. "I warned you. That doll was my great-grandmother's final creation. She wasn't just a doll maker, she practiced forbidden things. Witchcraft. She claimed she could trap souls inside porcelain. Anka was her first success." Luca slammed the box on the counter. "Take her back. Burn her." "I don't care." "I can't," Kane said. "Once she chooses someone, she clings. You were the one who woke her." The lights in the shop flickered. The box on the counter rocked slightly. Mr. Kane stared. You need to bury her in consecrated ground. Midnight. Salt the earth. Seal the box with red thread. Then pray she doesn't escape again. That night, Luca and Erica drove to an abandoned church outside Salem. They carried the box into the graveyard, dug a hole under a withered tree, and followed every instruction. Salt. Thread. Prayer. As they buried her, the ground trembled for a second. Then all was still. Luca felt relief. Like a weight had lifted. But the next morning, he found something terrifying on his porch. A single, tiny black shoe. Exes. Erica called in a panic. Luca, she's here. Back at her house, every mirror was shattered. The words, "You buried me alive," were scratched into her bedroom door. They tried to flee Salem. But every hotel room they stayed in, she followed. One morning Luca woke up with small, porcelain handprints on his chest. They knew what they had to do: burn the doll. Digging up the grave was a nightmare. When they opened the box, Anka's eyes were open wide, her mouth now full of needle-sharp teeth. They burned her. Screams echoed from the flames, high-pitched, unearthly. The fire turned green. Then silence. Days passed. No signs of her. Until Luca opened his closet one evening and saw it. A new doll. Same red dress. Same cold, glassy eyes. And underneath it, a note. Let's play again.